Hi guys, welcome back to another week of distance learning for US studies. I hope you're doing well. I've been thinking about you and hopefully you're ready for another fun week of learning. Last week we focused on the Kennedy assassination and I got some great work from you guys on some song lyrics and some really good analysis on the Kennedy assassination. So for this week, we're going to move on beyond that. President Kennedy had passed away. President Lyndon Johnson was in there. Remember, he created this great society, this idea that we need to make America look nice. It's kind of like a mini New Deal. Make it look nice, bring some great social programs in there to aid Americans and just make America beautiful. So, amongst this, we got ourselves embroiled in a conflict known as the Vietnam War, which is our topic for the week. So, your assignments for this week, there are 3 short assignments. Hopefully, they won't take you very long at all to do. The first one is our blog post, which you know the drill on this. So, thinking back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, and President Kennedy and the US government getting that secret information regarding the atomic weapons being there. What would you do if you realized that something dangerous was close to you, something was going to hurt you? What lengths would you go to stop them? Would you be peaceful like President Kennedy was? Or would you decide, you know what? They're very close to us. I want to knock them out. It really goes back to how would you handle a situation like this? Because being the president is a very stressful position. So hopefully that brings some excitement or energy to you. Your next assignment is Vietnam War text analysis. So you're going to be looking at some different documents, using Soapstone to annotate some speeches as you go. Then you're going to answer some questions on a Google Doc or Kami. So to look at these documents, I love this first one, Anti-Vietnam War Movement Timeline. This talks about what kinds of things happened both in Vietnam but also in the United States at this time. So you're seeing how it escalated from very few people being involved in the war, 180,000 in 1965, to 500,000 in 1967. So you see how quickly it escalates. You get to read about some of the violence, the Tet Offensive, stuff that happened there, and how Vietnam was the first war that pictures were put in the paper on a daily basis. There was video footage that was put on the TV. And as a response, the American public was angry about this war. They were not supportive. Why are we over there fighting with the Vietnamese and fighting the Soviet Union? This doesn't even involve us. We are losing our lives, and really the Vietnamese, South Vietnam doesn't want us there. This also ties in there the fact that MLK and RFK were both assassinated. So that is very interesting to think about because not only were we having the Vietnam War, we were having a lot of anti-Vietnam conflict inside the United States, but then we also had some major assassinations. As one of my college professors told me, 1968 was the worst year in American history, other than when they were born. So they thought that was funny. I thought it was interesting too because you think about all this crazy stuff that's happening. Who knows? From what's been happening in 2020 so far, a lot of people want to forget that. Hopefully 2020 won't feature quite so much violence as 1968. But this timeline, very interesting for you to look at and kind of have an idea of what happened when. Then you look at a speech from Martin Luther King regarding the Vietnam War. Then a speech from John Kerry. He ran for president back in 2004, but he was giving testimony before the Senate on foreign relations. So he was a former veteran who wanted to speak out regarding the Vietnam War. You answer these few questions here based on what you read. These headings tell you what section you're getting the answers from. And then you're going to put a little design for a poster that would protest the Vietnam War. Add some color if you have some colored pencils. Please no stick figures. It's so much better when we actually try on these things. Okay, use the information from the speeches and the timeline to help you. The last thing I've shared with you on this assignment is a Vietnam War notes. So I'm going to go over these in more detail during class, but I'm sorry that when I uploaded them, a lot of the pictures and the color was not there, so I don't mean to bore you. But you can see that it talks about where the Vietnam War conflicts came from. This goes back all the way to World War II. Talks about the leader, Ho Chi Minh, the build-up to the war, what was happening, stuff like that. There's a lot of really interesting stuff here, which I'll get into more in class. Our tactics, stuff we used, very violent stuff. But if you look through this, you'll see that the tactics from the other side, the Viet Cong, were just as brutal, if not more so. And then it talks about the anti-war protests. This really offers a good connection to that timeline. It's more detail to hopefully help you have a great understanding, because as much as I would love to spend more than 1 week on this topic, we have to keep moving. Because next week we talk about what caused more government mistrust. Vietnam caused a ton of government mistrust from the citizens, but next week's events of the Watergate scandal blow the whole thing up. And you'll see why people dislike the government even to this day. And then it talks about the peace agreement of what happens, and a nice summary at the end talking about the results of the Vietnam War. If you have not seen the movie called The Post, starring Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, it shows a lot of stuff about Vietnam and the Pentagon Papers, as well as the lead up to the Watergate scandal. So I strongly suggest it. I wish we could be together and I could show you like a little clip or something, but we're not together. So if you have the opportunity, it may be on Netflix for you to watch. And then the inevitable fall to communism. Vietnam was a failed endeavor. Ultimately, North Vietnam and the Soviet Union won the battle. And so we basically went to war in Vietnam and came out with very little to show for it, angering the American public more. Alongside this, you'll see that President Lyndon Johnson, he decided not to run for re-election in 1968 because he felt like he was going to lose. He did not want to lose, so he decided that he wasn't going to run, and so it turned into a guy, Barry Goldwater, versus Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon was able to come out victorious. Ultimately, he's the one who pulled us from Vietnam and ended the conflict, even though we did not win the war. Then your final assignment for this week is, I think you'll really like this one. You're going to look at some, thinking about the different perspectives that you've read about and stuff. You're going to make a comic strip that shows one of these three. Either 1, 2, or 3. Think about what you want to get your point across with. This has to be a multifaceted comic strip. So think about the poster as like your, almost like a warm-up kind of thing. Get your creative juices flowing, and then make this comic strip, which, if it shows both sides, if it has color, and you're bringing a lot of stuff together, it could really be a nice creative way to educate others about the conflict of the Vietnam War. So you can have like a little rough draft there, and then a final copy. You can draw this stuff, or you can also use Powtoon or any other comic strip maker online. Because I know some of us, we're not the most artistic, but we will find a way to make stuff look nice. I have the utmost of faith in you. As I've said before, I miss seeing you guys, so if you have an opportunity and would like to get about 5 points of extra credit, take a selfie, which is a picture of yourself, if you didn't realize, doing something fun around your house. We might not be able to get out, but we can still have that human connection. You get to see my videos. You get to see how long my hair is growing to be, and you get to see my kids run around. So this is my opportunity. Let me see a picture of you, and hopefully you take advantage of it. Make sure that you are keeping up on your assignments for all your classes. I look forward to seeing you this week, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me on Google Voice. Do not hesitate to send me a message on Remind or a private comment on here. If you don't want to do extra credit, that's fine. That's your prerogative. You don't have to. Just another opportunity. The other assignments, I posted them last week. They're due by Friday at the end of the day. Please make sure you're meeting your deadlines for all your classes. You are very studious individuals, and I know you can do this. Look forward to talking soon. Bye-bye.